TB, thoughts on Mendoza, the Cal quarterback, as a quarterback transfer prospect? He's a gamer. He's a baller.
Yeah, not enthralled, really. He's, I mean, if you bring in Fernando Mendoza, like, who else are you bringing in? Like, it's definitely, if you want to have a competition between him and Emory and insert other quarterback here, sure. I think he's fine. He's clearly a very intelligent guy. Like, he went to Columbus and he went to Cal, which is a top 10 public school. Like, Cal Berkeley is like you have to be smart to go there. Regardless of if you're an athlete or not, like, you have to be intelligent. And perform well in the classroom. And I know that, like, grades are not necessarily a measure of intellect, but both of those things need to be true to survive at Cal for 3-4 years. So, I mean, there's that. He is a Miami kid, and everything. So, you get to bring a prodigal son of sorts home, if you were to do that. But I'm nonplussed. Like, he doesn't really get me excited or move the needle. Given the choice, I would rather, and I'm not saying that Miami is doing this, I'm saying in terms of this question, I would rather kick the tires on somebody with more talent, in my estimation. I would rather kick the tires on a Jackson Arnold, 5-star recruit. Hey, I'm going to keep it a bean with you. I would damn sure rather kick the tires on Luke Cromanoke, who's leaving Florida State. Now, that right there, 5-star recruit, I think he was clearly the better option, better player than Brock Glenn. I would much rather kick the tires on a player of that ilk than a Fernando Mendoza, me, myself, personally. Now, if you're taking in some of the intangibles, the things that I mentioned before about the intellect, about the locker room fit, about the, South Florida native, about the Columbus pipeline, because Mirabal and Cristobal went there, and so many other people, and, people who work at Miami, players who go to Miami, all of that stuff, right? Yeah, I could see it, but he doesn't really move the needle to me.
And we will see who else enters the portal. So those are the two guys that come to mind that intrigue you.
I mean, there was a report about Malik Murphy. I was very much more excited about him last year than this, even though he had like 29 touchdowns and 8 interceptions this year and more than 3,000 yards passing for Duke. I also saw all those very, very, very bad misses that he had on pretty routine throws, which is part of the evaluation as well. But I mean, John Mateer from Washington State, if we just want to keep that going, I would see him following his offensive coordinator who's going from Wazoo to Oklahoma. I think that that's a set it and forget it kind of transition for Mateer himself, all things being equal. Those are probably, like, off the top of the dome. The Tulane kid is going to Duke to replace Malik Murphy. That was already confirmed. Thomas Castellanos, I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. And it seems like he might be going to Florida State because they want to add the element of QB run in there. And I'm like, why don't you just do that with Crum? Whatever. Anyways, so I think that's like 4 or 5 names off the top of the dome, being a Jackson Arnold, being a Luke Cromanoke, being a John Mateer. I think there's a big gap, and then a Malik Murphy of, like, players that I would kick the tires on Caden Salter, even though, also, and everything. I had to call my stepsister. She works at Liberty. She's one of the athletic trainers in the athletic training department. Interesting. So, yeah, but I'm not going to put her name out there because I just put her business all out there. But, anyway, so those are like 5 or 6 names that would intrigue me. Notice how I didn't get to Mendoza even on that, because I think that he's just a guy to me. He's a jag. I'm not. I mean, I would much rather stick with the Emory Williams as our in-house jag, potentially jag plus, or maybe even look at a Luke Nickel or somebody else. I would much rather do that than bring in an exterior jag. And, like, if you look at what Miami's done in the transfer portal at quarterback, we've not brought in Jags, we've not brought in just the guys, right? Now, I know you're going to say Cam. We brought in Reese Poffenbarger from Albany. We brought in just a guy. We brought in De'Eric King, and we brought in Cam Ward. Those were not just middle of the road guys. You know what I mean? Like, we've gone and gotten dudes in the portal at quarterback. And if we're going to do that again, I would prefer something like that as opposed to Mendoza is like room temperature milk to me. Yeah, sorry. Useful in some things if you're making a bechamel, but like, I'm not having that with my cookies. You know what I mean?
Oh, Dirty King thing. You've got to attach a super chat to some of those comments. They're just too ridiculous for me to read. Connor Weigman. How about Connor Weigman? That guy can
I've been a
play.
big fan of Connor Weigman. I've been a big fan for a long time. I've been a big fan. He's a 5-star guy. He has all of the talent in the world. You're looking at a kid he was big. He's like 6'3" to 6'3 and a half, like 215 to 20. He can move. He can throw it. Like, that is a kid, right? Who could. Now, the big fat elephant in the room is that he cannot stay healthy. He's been injured after injured after injured. And then a little injury this year and a little bit of middling performance, and they go to Marcel Reed, and I get it. But that's a kid I would rather kick the tires on than Mendoza because, the ceiling is, to my eye, infinitely higher with Weigman than Mendoza. But the floor with Mendoza for consistent performance and like the fact that he can perform is the thing. There's a couple of statements that are salient that come to my mind. Number one, you can't make the club in the tub is what they always used to say when I worked at Miramar about, hey, you can't make the club in the tub. If you're always in the cold whirlpool with an injury, right? How are you going to be all district, all region, all state? That's a club to get into those things. And you can't make that club if you're always in the tub. And also the best ability is availability. If you have this incredible level of talent, but it's sitting over there on the bench or on crutches with a walking cast, what good does it do us? That myself personally, at my big age and big gigantic weight, have the same efficacy at running back as somebody on the bench in a walking cast with, crutches. So, like, you need to have that. But the talent with Connor Weigman is unquestionably there. I also just think we've seen him be injured way too many times. But, like, again, I would rather go down this path than a Mendoza. Me, myself, personally.
We have some other quarterbacks being served up, like Aaron Noland, Ohio State.
Should have signed with Miami to begin with, brother. I mean, hey, it was all going our way. He decided he wanted to go do that. And Aaron Noland was always going to be a little bit of a developmental guy. He has a lot of talent, left-handed. He can move. He can throw it. It was going to take a little bit. Had he come to Miami, he would be in line to step up now. But I would kick those tires. Michael Van Buren, who was a very good high school quarterback, and then went to Mississippi State and played pretty well. Some tough circumstances because that's not a very good Mississippi State team. Everybody who's been mentioned, I would inquire about before Fernando Mendoza. Every single one.
Yeah, don't believe I had seen Van Buren play until the Egg Bowl against Ole Miss, and he played a really good football game, kept them in the game, and against a far superior team.
Yeah.
We've got Dylan Raiola to Miami rumors.
Those got heated up randomly last week. And I don't know if that was a push from his camp to try to get more NIL money or what that was. I didn't believe him at all. I have a problem with people, and this is a me thing. People who are not comfortable in themselves, people who try to be someone else. And Dylan Raiola is clearly cosplaying Patrick Mahomes. That is not his personality. That is not him. That is not what we see. Like, he has gained weight to look like him. He tries to walk like him. He's grown his hair out to be the same. Like, it's every day is Halloween for Dylan Raiola. That rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah.
Because when he was younger in high school, right, in Arizona, he had he was his own person, and then he decided he was going to adopt this doppelganger. I have a problem with that. Put him on my roster tomorrow. Probably dead. I mean, like, yeah, if that were, but like, yeah, I think that I don't know why, but there were multiple people from the Nebraska beat and out there who were pushing this. So I don't know if this was a stress test on, is there a leak in the system? You guys remember in Game of Thrones when Tyrion Lannister, this is going to make sense, trust me. He said to 4 different people, I have a niece who's a princess, and we make alliances by marriage. So I'm going to marry my niece to this person. And he told 4 different people, 4 different princes that she was going to be betrothed to. Because he was trying to figure out where the loose lips that sink ships are. And then when that gets put out in public, I'm going to do the thing that has now been put in the public. But now I know I can't trust you. Because I only told you. I didn't tell this other person. I didn't tell Mark. I didn't tell Dave. I didn't tell Bob. I told you I was going to marry him and her together, right? Maybe this was some of that. Maybe this was, hey, let's tell a couple different people, a couple different schools that Raiola may transfer to. Let's float out there a Miami because they got some buzz. Let's float out there a USC. Let's float out there and let's see what actually hits the internet. I completely took that from a fictional series and said, maybe that's a thing. I have no idea where that came from, because what was said was not that Miami would desire to have Dylan Raiola. It was from the Raiola side that he was looking to potentially make that move. They sound the same. Those are different things. So it was very interesting to me. I didn't believe any of it. It was only a couple of guys who said it, but I don't know. I'm very clearly conjecturing here. I would love it. I would love to talk to one of those people and see what they would be willing to give up about what the foundation for that was, because I'm grasping at straws.